Tamron lenses causes a lot of problems online. Some people just hate them, and they hate the way Nikon rebrands Tamron lenses. And the argument is people don't like that because it makes them more expensive.
Do they definitely rebrand Tamron lenses?
It's unofficial, isn't it, really?
I don't know.
Like we've always said, it's not a big deal. They're good lenses, they're good lenses.
Tamron's been around long. The last time I had a Tamron lens was, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago.
They're decent lenses. I've seen plenty of reviews of the non-S Trinity, and they're all good. Really good lenses, solid performance. I mean, so this brings us on to the new Tamron 35-150 f2 to 2.8. Now this is breaking new ground actually with Nikon, because this is the only lens that's an f2 zoom. Right,
and it's obviously Z mount.
It's Z mount, because it's out for other brands already, and it's the same kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing to me is the f2 bit of it. So it goes from 35 to 85 before it hits full 2.8. And that's really good. Because
so somewhere like 50 then, it's what, 2.4 or something?
Something like that,
something like that. Okay.
Let's go through some of the specs. So it's just over 1 kilogram though. That's pretty heavy.
Sounds heavy, yeah.
It's about the same as my 51.2. But I think with zoom lenses, you can be more forgiving with weight because what it's trying to do. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Because like a 50, you like, oh, it's a 50.
Yeah, I mean, it's biggish, so you've got plenty to hang on to with one hand, I suppose. But yeah, I know what you mean, because
it replaces.
To like swap 2 or 3 lenses, you've got one.
Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? Because how many lenses does it replace? Because let's say you're 24-120 f4.
Yes.
So this covers, okay, it starts at 35, but it's a 2 to 2.8. So it's an extra over 1 stop at times faster.
But you're fixated on this 1 stop. You hate f4.
Yeah. Well,
you've got this fixation. How often does it matter?
For indoor use, it matters a lot for me.
Yeah, okay. And would you be using? I mean, the 24-120 full travel lens. It's a great lens. It's
yeah.
But you could get away with it in low light because the camera it's attached to is generally really good. The Z6 is
what I
really
find
good in low light, and the Z8 presumably.
Counter to that, I have used my 24-70 2.8 for events sometimes, and up to probably 50mm, there's not enough image separation for me because I like to separate the subject from the background to have some, subject separation. At 2.8 on the wider spectrum, it looks completely flat to me. And so when I use my 28-1.4, there's loads of separation and it's wide enough, and on top of that, it really does feel different.
Right, so coming back to your question about 24-120.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, and this is first I knew about that Tamron, but 24-120 is a good quality Nikon S lens. Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Second, really, to a 70-200, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't swap that for a 35-150 third-party lens. And it no chance, even though it's got all 4 of 1 stop faster, or just a bit more than 1 stop faster.
Well, the quality-wise, I've seen a lot of reviews, and it shows it to be, well, some reviewers says it's the best Tamron lens ever made. Image quality, sharpness, image control. It's the top line for Tamron. So for me, if I was going to choose, I would go for this. Like
comparing the best Ford against a Jag or something, or a Merc, or...
I don't think it is now.
No.
Like we were saying, I think the non-S
getting a lot closer.
That's so close
to the S.
I mean, I've seen videos side-by-side comparisons.
But that's all Nikon lenses though, isn't it? But I suppose, I mean, there's a lot of people who say...
Well, they say they're Tamron. The non-S is supposed to be Tamron.
No, non-S is Tamron.
Yeah.
Well, the 24-200 was not an S
Tamron,
lens.
No.
That wasn't a Tamron.
No.
So...
But these ones are supposed to be.
You watch too much YouTube.
But either way, I've seen side-by comparisons across the range, and they're really good.
Yeah. Okay.
The only things they're missing are stuff like VR and things like that, and a few image control things.
All right, come back on that one then. The only thing they're missing is VR and stuff like that. Well, okay, leave aside shallow depth field for 1 minute. VR has got to be worth at least one stop, probably more than one stop.
Yeah, in low, yeah. In
so an f4 lens with VR, if you're saying, if you're trying to compare that to a 2.8 with no VR, I mean
the price of it, so it's estimated £1,700. That's quite expensive.
It is.
But it's also the fastest zoom you can get.
What is the 24 to 120? I can't remember.
It's about over £1,000.
Well, what I've heard, I would never get the Tamron instead of the 24 to 120.
See, I would. For me, because I'm fast obsessed. So for me, that would cover, especially for events, a 35 to 150 2.8 would be really nice to use as a secondary lens.
Yes. Compared to an f4, which I've just said, but with VR.
No, for me, the image separation would be good enough for the wider ones. So it replaces a lot of primes, the 1.8 primes.
But it's got a battle on there, hasn't it, really, though? And I know sharpness is not everything.
But for image separation, f2, so you got a 35 and it's f2, that's great.
Just whack a mask on it in Lightroom.
No, it doesn't have the
turn
same
your
effect.
Texture and your clarity down and you've got your image separation.
At 10 times work, that's for me. I've still used the 28 1.4 over a 35 f2. Because I need wider than 35 anyway. So it isn't wide enough for me to use. I find that when I use zoom lenses,
I think at the wide range, 28, how much separation are you getting on the wide angle lens?
Oh, 1.4 quite a lot, yeah. I'll put an example up. Ding! You got to, because when I use zoom lenses, I'm always using the maximum focal lengths. So when I'm using my 24-70,
yeah, I know what you mean.
I use 24 or I use 70.
Yeah.
When I'm using my 70 to 200, it's usually 70 or 200. So 35, that suits a lot of people for event photography actually. But so yeah, it's really tempting. But if I was starting again, if I didn't have any zoom lens, I would get this one over a lot of the other ones. The only reason I wouldn't get...
Hang on, when you say over you are Mr. Prime, so are you going to get that one to replace any primes?
No.
No, so...
Because it's not fast enough
you'll be,
for that.
yeah, exactly. So when are you going to use it then? Because you'll just carry on wanting to use your primes.
True, yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't have the zoom. That's why I don't use zoom lenses so much
exactly.
now.
So what zoom lenses have you got?
I've got the whole Trinity.
Yeah.
The whole
so
Trinity.
You just wouldn't have your 14 to 24.
I'll get the 17 to 28 one.
Right. Don't you need 14 sometimes? No,
because 14 I'm usually too close and it distorts
17
anyway.
28. You wouldn't have your 24 to 70.
I'll get the other one, yeah.
Which is
28. Well, maybe 28.
24 to 70 f2.8 Nikon is a classic.
Yeah,
bread and butter.
Yeah. But I don't use zooms enough to justify getting an S version.
Okay.
The
so you turn up with half a dozen cameras to a wedding with like half a dozen prime lenses on them?
No, most of the time I use my 28 1.4, my 50 1.2.
Yeah.
That does 90% of the work I need.
And what else then? So
I have another body with my 14 to 24 or the 24 to 70.
At what point do you say, right, none of those three options are any good then? I need to just whack this other zoom on it.
Sometimes, yeah, the 24 to 70 is essential. So there we go. What do you guys think? I mean, this is controversial Tamron. Terrible Tamron, they just call it.
Do they?
Well, I've just coined
you call it?
I've just coined that.
You just coined it?
Terrible Tamron.
Oh, poor old Tamron.
But
they're not going to lend us any lenses now after that, then, are they, to look at?
But I think they're really breaking boundaries with these non-professional lenses. And I think there's a lot to say for them. I think there's a grudge against them that's not really valid anymore. But what do you guys think? Do you want the Tamron lens? Will it replace your current zooms? But anyway, there we go.
You haven't put an order in, have you?
No.
I sometimes wonder with you.
No. If it was a 28, if it started at 28, I would be really tempted for that because that's I love 28 focal length. So.